run out yet, so I do believe I'm winning. For all the mess I was, am and will be continuing, and the fun is only beginning. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE Smackdown every Friday night after the bell. But today is different than a Friday night. It's a Monday morning as we are recapping WWE Smackdown because I had the flu all week. So, my name is John Zindel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, we're trying a few new things here. We're upgrading our look and our audio here. And I wonder if the WWE is upgrading in how they're turning at least their main storyline heading into WrestleMania. So with that being said, John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story for the most recent SmackDown we watched from February 16th?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And the lead absolutely is the main event, was a talking segment with The Rock returning to Salt Lake City, Utah, and coming out in his heel persona and just destroying the crowd. I mean, eviscerating the crowd. It was fantastic. And aligning himself with the bloodline. Tom, what did you think about this talking segment with The Rock and the rest of the bloodline?
This is the continuation of their Road to WrestleMania kickoff they did in Vegas earlier, where they teased, the Rock has to lean into being a heel.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked it. He came out and he was full on heel. And this is something that I don't think the WWE audience has seen in 25 years?
It was a blast from the past.
And it was great. I thought he was leaning into the heel stuff. He's insulting the crowd. He's mocking them when they try to, when you're a babyface, you want the crowd to be along with you on your catchphrases. When you're a heel, you're insulted that they would dare do that. So he's doing that with the crowd. Even the way he ended it, he said, if you smell what the bloodline is cooking. So it was not only a twist on his catchphrase, but it was solidifying that this is The Rock in the bloodline. And that just tells me that The Rock has to turn on Roman Reigns at some point. When they go this hard, it means it's going in the other direction, doesn't it?
Oh.
But I like this for what it was,
Yeah.
I like heel Rock, and if we're not going to get... We got good matches during the show, so I'm not going to dock them points because the last thing they put on wasn't a match. It's not like they gave us crap the whole show and, then ended it with a talking segment. We got wrestling on this show, but they ended it with The Rock and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, and if you smell what the bloodline is cooking.
Yeah. So I might swerve you here.
Okay.
So typically, I just want main event, just be a match that they set up to, and it kind of brings the whole show together rather than all these talking segments. But this talking segment was fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, he just went so hard at the crowd that I haven't seen any heel do in WWE in a while. It just seems like, they're kind of dopey sometimes. It's and I always bury this guy, but I'm just going to continue to do it. This is Grayson Waller's supposed to be the heel, and he can't even get anything going even close to how mean or aggressive or how kind of controlling Rock was of the crowd. He wasn't just playing defense. He was really kind of going at them.
Mhm.
He told someone, shut your fat ass mouth up or whatever like that. Called like someone fat in the crowd.
Mhm.
Calling
Before I
everybody
slap the herpes off your mouth face or something.
stop the herpes off your mouth. Yeah, and like even the way he went at the Utah crowd and called them all inbred trailer trash. I was like,
Mhm.
these are pretty good insults. These are like, this is pretty mean, right? And it sounded like it was from the heart. And I think those are just like, I was just like in awe of him just like tearing the crowd apart because like they were
Mhm.
trying to get the what chance going, and when they were trying to get the what chance going, every WWE wrestler struggles, right? Like once
Mhm.
what
Most of them,
chance
yeah.
happen, it's either they can try to get it back on track and then it's still kind of rocky, but like he just like called them all inbred. It was like
Yeah.
no better way to than to like change your pacing of the way you're
Mhm.
talking, which is like the 101 thing, and then say, hey, I know all you inbred people want to do the what chant. It's like,
Mhm.
okay. He just completely called them inbred. you know, like
Since people several months ago, I think it's died down now, but since people were, complaining that LA Knight looked like he was doing too much callback to Stone Cold and The Rock, I'm going to say that, the Rock kind of turning around and pointing towards what looked like individual people in the stands, calling him fat boy and smack the herpes off your face. I mean, he was riffing on Ric Flair from the 80s, You
yeah,
shut your mouth, fat boy. My watch costs more than your house.
yeah.
Something like that.
There's no way like he's definitely pointing in a random direction. It's no way like he heard something specifically. He's
Yeah.
just kind of doing that. But
But that gimmick of pretending that you're singling out somebody in the crowd that you now have a conflict with. Like, because that's the kind of thing like, oh, that guy got under my skin. And that just encourages the rest of the crowd to keep doing it. When
yeah,
you're a heel, you want to give off the fact that, yeah, the crowd's getting under your skin enough for you to notice because that
mm,
encourages that behavior.
yeah. So
It
I
was, it was
was
good stuff. And Roman, we don't usually see Roman in one of these final segments, just kind of sitting there, grinning, winking, smiling.
Jimmy was corpsing like crazy out there.
Oh,
Like he was just laughing. But like I guess you could do it a little bit, but you could just tell like luckily he's allowed to just corpse. So he's just
yes.
corpsing like crazy. And man, it was cool.
Mhm.
And I like this one a lot. I don't know where the hell they're going, but I think you might be onto something where you think there's going to be him turning on him, which is going to be like another swerve. So
Sure.
I mean, hopefully, just kind of keep driving forward with what they have, and it's interesting to see The Rock kind of come back too. I think like one thing I noticed was when he was in the late '90s doing this, right?
Mhm.
20 some years ago when he was doing this, he looked younger, but not as big. And now he's just like gigantic. So like he just looks way different. He just is huge now because he's so geared up. He's
Yeah.
on everything imaginable, whatever sort of substance that he needs to be to get bigger. He's on for
When
sure.
he was an active wrestler, he was in athlete shape. Now he's in movie shape, which is just look like a cartoon character from a comic book or something.
Yeah, he looked like a good athlete that played like defensive end at the University of Miami. It made sense, right?
Yes.
When
Yeah.
he was a wrestler. But now
Yep.
he looks like, yeah, like
Looks like a comic book
a
character.
comic book character for sure.
Yeah.
But so that's I mean, I know
It's a slow game, right? Because like Elimination Chamber's coming up. Neither Roman nor Rock is going to be in Australia, I don't think. Um,
oh
so
yeah, weird.
so they've got lots of time to do here. They just needed to plant the seed here today that yeah, The Rock is totally on board with Roman Reigns. He's a heel. Rock is not there to turn Roman Reigns babyface, or at least not yet. We'll see how the storyline plays out. But for now, it's Rock turning heel into the bloodline. It's going to be a long play. Um, it's wait and see. They don't want to kill Elimination Chamber, but they wanted to plant enough of a seed here so that when Elimination Chamber's over, they can, whenever they want in March, resume the road to WrestleMania with The Rock in the bloodline. So they checked the boxes they needed to for what this was, right?
Oh yeah. No.
You didn't think anything was missing from this, and you're going like, oh, they missed a big opportunity here.
No, I think it was great.
Yeah.
And typically we like matches in the main event, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's the lead. That's The Rock.
We got 5 other matches. Let's go to the follow, and you pick what other match you want to talk about, since there was, significant wrestling on the show.
Let's see here. So
Anything other than the sub 1 minute squash, I think we can go to next.
Oh, well, that's what I want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Ackerman Razor versus Javier Bernal and Bo Morris, who we've never heard. The bell at 8:48, the finish at 8:48.
Well, maybe
there we go. We've talked about that match. We don't have to do it later.
Yeah. So we had the jobbers lose. But, we had a bunch of good matches here that had consequences going into basically who decides who goes to Elimination Chamber.
Yep. 2
So
men's, 2 women's. What do you like?
Logan Paul versus The Miz.
Okay.
We can head in that direction here. So Logan Paul kind of predictably knocks off The Miz to go and punch his ticket to Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
I could have actually seen this go the other way because I don't see Logan Paul winning the Elimination Chamber. So maybe they would have Miz go.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, Logan Paul kind of knocks off The Miz. I think The Miz looked really good in this match.
Yeah.
Because we don't get to see him a lot because we only watch SmackDown. Mm-hmm. But Miz was really sharp in there. Logan Paul had like a big old botch in the middle of the match.
Sure, like, which one?
He had he does his standing flip. I don't know.
The moonsault, the standing moonsault.
Standing moonsault.
Yep.
Yeah, he does like a standing moonsault, but he did the standing moonsault and Miz put his knees up, but he didn't react. And then they both kind of start rolling on the ground. And then the Miz just sort of rolls him up just to save face a little bit because they just were completely lost.
Yes.
This little transition. But that was just a big botch I noticed.
Miscommunication. Either Miz wasn't supposed to get the knees up or Logan Paul missed it. Okay, this is where the Miz blocks it.
Yeah, I think he moves pretty quick, like Logan in there, and athletically, and has high aspirations for his level of work. Mm-hmm. And then these just happen in the match because he's doing a lot more than he is capable of. But ultimately, he hits most of it, right? When he does these more complex stuff. If you have someone in there like AJ Styles, it's all going to be perfect if he does all this stuff. But then you have someone like Logan Paul, there's just going to be one that goes south. But
the Miz was good at correcting that spot. I mean, Logan did the standing moonsault right onto the Miz's knees, and then looked like he was trying to go for a cover. And the Miz is like, what are you doing?
One thing that's cool though too is to see them be able to adjust. If you have I think that's Chris Jericho said this before. He doesn't like the terminology botch because it can be a thing where you can work off of it and then work into something. And then it's okay, then it's not really that bad. And you can kind of keep the match flowing. Mm-hmm. I think Jake the Snake, his initial finisher, the DDT, was an accident. It's just front headlock and they kind of fell backwards. And so it came off of a botch, but actually it's a cool move. And then they just used it. So.
Yeah. That'd be a good, so even if it's apocryphal, it's a neat story, something that just happens and it turns out all right. The Miz is a good guy to be there. And they mentioned that this is Logan Paul's first singles match on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So when they announced that, I'm like, okay, well, he can't lose now. And then the question was, does he get a clean win finally? And he did. They tried to do the brass knucks, but it wound up not being a factor in the end. It was just, Logan Paul hits a good right hand on the Miz, and then some sort of leg sweep move. It wasn't the Miz's skull crushing finale, which he did earlier in the match, to kind of mock the Miz. But whatever this was, it was It was a big right hand, and then while the Miz is woozy, a leg sweep for the pinfall. Match went 13 minutes. It started just before the changeover of the hour, so 8:59 here on the East Coast in Jersey. Pretty good match. Important for Logan Paul, not because he's going to Elimination Chamber, because like you said, I can't really see him winning it, but important because he wins his first singles match. They gave him 13 minutes. They gave him really the best part of the show, the most prestigious part of the show that's not the main event at the end, right over that 9:00 hour. They let them go 13 minutes. He was in there with somebody who could, like you said, the Miz looked good. He can wrestle. He can go. I mean, he hit a flatliner for a 2 count, hit a chest cracker out of the corner for a 2 count, which looked great after he had Logan Paul strung up on that second turnbuckle there. He got the Logan in a figure 4, but Logan got to the ropes to break it. So there was a lot of good stuff here. The Miz was the good opponent for Logan Paul to kind of, have his SmackDown singles debut and make sure that it would go all right. So good booking. I like the match.
Yeah. Good match. And then, Logan Paul, he punches his ticket to Australia.
Yep.
What is
that's good? Like he's going to be Australia, so they can promote that social media YouTube star Logan Paul is going to be at the Perth show.
I think you kind of mentioned it earlier in the show, but like you have no Cody Rhodes and no Roman Reigns there, so no Rock. It is feeling like a B show. So you better send some of your mid to top guys, and you're kind of like Logan Paul now kind of is one around that area.
Not sure if Cody Rhodes is going to be there. They mentioned they're going to have a Grayson Waller effect during the show. So you and I will be thrilled for that as we're watching the premium live event.
Yeah.
That'll be the go fix yourself a snack portion of the festivities. But yeah, the Perth show is going to be Elimination Chamber is a gimmick that in and of itself is a main event, like to watch the Elimination Chamber. Logan Paul's hometown hero Rhea Ripley's going to be there. I would not surprise to see her get the main event. And we could talk about that during this Don't Bury the Lead here, because this is really our go home show before the Perth show, before Elimination Chamber. So yeah, I hometown hero Rhea Ripley should get the main event against Nia Jax. That should be a fantastic match. Although Nia is known for her botches, but size wise, that's a compelling matchup. They're both physically great athletes. Both Elimination Chamber matches have a combination of stars and up and comers in them. Like Logan Paul's kind of an up and comer, but he's also a star and he has a belt. So putting him in Logan Paul's going to be in Elimination Chamber. It's a big deal. Outside of The Rock, he might be the most recognizable person in the WWE because of what he's done outside of the WWE. So he's a big star. And I think the Elimination Chamber is going to be a fun match. We did this last February where the Sami Zayn Roman Reigns main event was awesome, but the Elimination Chamber matches were pretty cool too. It's a gimmick that works if you do it once a year.
Right, for sure.
Like men's and women. So if we're done with this match here, what else do you like of these Elimination Chamber qualifiers? We had one other men's qualifier and 2 women's qualifiers.
We had the females match. So we see Tiffany Stratton again and versus Zelina Vega, and Tiffany Stratton goes over after a little bit of interference there at the end, and she hits her prettiest moonsault.
Yes, PME, prettiest moonsault ever.
Okay. Yeah. So
she's apparently an Olympic gymnast. She looks tall for an Olympic gymnast. Usually they're smaller, they're more petite. So the fact that her size was an Olympic gymnast shows you what a fantastic athlete she is. This match only goes 9 minutes. It's the shortest non-squash of the night, but you called this one out as the second match to go to after the Logan Paul match. This is an intriguing matchup because Tiffany Stratton is new to the main roster. So did you like that she's getting this push here? Especially after last week having her tease that she's really needling the other stars on the roster. So do you
Yeah,
like the Tiffany Stratton mini push here that we're getting heading into Elimination Chamber?
it's pretty wild. And I think they do this sometimes where they just bring someone up and then they have them go over twice. And
Hmm.
this is like her going over twice, so they must think highly of her
Hmm.
to bring her up and do this. I
Is
thought
she worth it from what you saw in the match?
the Alabama Slam she did was really cool
Yep.
against Lena Vega.
Hmm.
Um, Zelina Vega is like another person like Mishin where you're like, she just won't. She feels like a person that probably should get a push, but like they just won't give it to her. I don't know what it is. What's going on
She
with
is
her?
tiny, but she can move. She's fast, and if she's in there with the right opponent, she can be a good foil, even though she's mostly babyface. She did that against Rhea Ripley at the Puerto Rico show, where
Yeah. So
where she almost felt like she was a charity case, like, oh, they're putting Zelina Vega in a title match because it's Puerto Rico and she's from Puerto Rico. And then she goes out and has a really good match with Rhea Ripley. And you start going, oh, if they give her a chance, she can work.
mm, yeah, I thought ultimately though, like, so she does still seem a little green, Tiffany. Like
Sure.
she's going into the corner really awkwardly all the time. Like she
Okay.
kind of like walks into there. I don't know what it is, but like she doesn't. She kind of goes in with not looking like she's going after the person. She's just sort of like looking for the next spot.
Hmm.
Um, but then also the prettiest moonsault, which they keep calling it that.
Hmm.
This is the second time where it landed in a weird spot.
This
Where
was
this one
better, though. Like the first one, she almost completely missed.
she almost completely missed, but then this time she was like a little short because she like landed on her with her legs. Like her knees hit her core
Hmm.
when you'd want to land that in the middle there. So the prettiest moonsault, it's not looking so pretty.
It's
It looks like it could kind of land anywhere whenever it launches.
there's a randomness factor to the prettiest moonsault ever.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really know where this is going.
Right.
There's a wrestler on the mat. Maybe that's the vicinity,
Mm. Well, I think that's enough about Tiffany Stratton and good for her for getting a win and maybe they have something.
Zelina hits a pretty good looking meteora. That seems to be her move as a smaller wrestler.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I don't know if she'll ever win a match that way, but like that's one of those like, okay, so Zelina's not just going to be beaten up the whole match.
Yeah.
So that's good. I like each of them, and it's not a great match, but I think it does what Tiffany Stratton needs, which is they're behind her. She looks like a great athlete. She just, like you're saying, she needs to refine what she's doing at this level. Some of it comes with your go into the corner like you mean it.
Mhm.
Get your positioning correct on your moonsault if you're going to brag about it being the prettiest moonsault ever. So just you're a fantastic athlete. You get what it means to be a heel. You're good at the backstage vignettes. Just clean up the things that are a little too loose about getting in the ring and actually grappling and wrestling
It's her second TV match too. I can't imagine how
on the
that is.
main roster. I mean,
Yeah,
she's gotten her work in NXT, but like you've brought up before, this is different.
the NXT stuff is that is borderline indie,
Mhm.
like NXT. No, the ratings are way different. There's most of the crowd in the NXT show is a video behind the crowd going like this. It's
Sure.
it's not it's not nearly. This is her second match up at the main roster, so I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah,
She
she's
has
not.
potential.
Yeah, but yeah. So next match that you want to talk about, maybe I'll kick it over to you.
Sure. It was the last match of the night, even though it wasn't on during the last segment of TV. It was Naomi versus Alba Fire. I think this was also maybe Naomi's first singles match on SmackDown since returning. She had her big, well-received return at the Royal Rumble which I think the WWE knew was going to happen because they had her start the Royal Rumble with Natalya, huge ovation. It looked like genuine emotion on Naomi's part. Like, oh my goodness, I didn't expect this. But she comes out. She has a 10-minute match with Alba Fire. This was supposed to be against Shotzi, but Shotzi was down in NXT helping their ratings and got legitimately hurt during either a live show or a taping.
Oh.
So this was supposed to be Shotzi reprising her role as the winner of the Ricochet Memorial person who loses a lot but looks good role. So they stuck Alba Fire into there with the added wrinkle that Alba Fire is in a tag team. So now that meant Isla Dawn could be on the outside interfering, which she did. I like the match. Naomi wins this with she gets into a weird submission I've never seen before on Alba Fire after about a 10-minute match. This was after hitting a head scissors version of a DDT while Alba Fire is like on her knees woozy. Naomi goes for a flying head scissors, and that's how she spikes her with it. Creative move. Not sure what to make of it, though, other than it's athletically creative. And Naomi gets the win. Naomi looks like, a great athlete, maybe a little too gymnasty like Tiffany Stratton, who is a gymnast. But Naomi also looks like she can grapple a bit. She looks like she's got some meat on her. She's got muscles, good lower body balance. So, I haven't seen Naomi much. I didn't watch her a lot in other promotions when she was away from WWE. So this is new for me. This is other than the Royal Rumble, which is not like a good gauge of what a person's going to do in a match. This is my first time seeing Naomi wrestle. And Alba Fire, I think, was a worthy foil for this match, which was just kind of showcasing Naomi. I liked it. Any spots that you saw? And if you've seen Naomi prior WWE runs or in her outside WWE runs, what can you point out to people like me who've never seen Naomi wrestle before?
Yeah, I thought her moveset was a lot different than I remember, which is good.
Okay.
You want to come back and be different.
Okay.
So like, it is like pretty athletic and like you said, gymnastic-y. But I think she kind of has stuck with that. But a lot of the moves I hadn't really recognized from her. And then one thing I wanted to call out, the split leg drop, like where like you do that. I don't know if she did that before, but I saw Logan Paul do that too.
He's done that a lot. Naomi does it better.
Yes, Naomi does it a lot better. I don't know who did it first because I saw it in back-to-back matches. I was like, both people, like they're both kind of just doing that move. I'm like, I wonder who did it first and what is it coming from? Because I thought at first I was like, oh, this is a pretty unique move, but then I'm like, I wonder who did this originally.
Logan Paul brought it out at a pay-per-view that we watched. I can't remember which one it was, but it was when he was doing callbacks to a lot of the older wrestlers with a little variation on it. And that was his callback to Hulk Hogan, but with Logan Paul style, doing it split style and flexing as he landed. Mm-hmm. And so Naomi does it, that split leg drop, but she leaps into it, which looks better. Like Logan Paul's looks like he's just showing off. Naomi looks like she's at least trying to hit a high impact move.
Right. Yeah, Logan Paul's.
So I like Naomi's better.
It's more of a taunt.
I like Naomi's better. Yeah, Logan's is a taunt, like he's not expecting to get the pinfall. Naomi looks like she's actually going for a finishing move.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that out of Naomi. She did a bulldog on the outside where she leaped over the ring steps so that she could bulldog Alba Fire onto the ring steps, which, if we want to be, breaking out of kayfabe with this, that should be the end of the match.
Yes.
I bulldogged someone on the steel ring steps.
Yeah.
The match is over.
Right.
That's it. You don't go to commercial with that unless when you come back from commercial, there's a medic team out there in a stretcher.
Yeah, that's a nasty move, right?
It's like during commercial, the ref just had to call the match. Naomi's going to Elimination Chamber. Alba Fire's going to the hospital. You know,
Yeah.
that's a very athletic move, and it's extremely athletic if you realize that they're not trying to kill each other.
Right.
So like Alba Fire and Naomi, it's like you probably were like they've never worked together before. It's like, I'm gonna leap over the ring steps and bulldog you on the ring steps. Like, okay, yeah, just call it when
It
you
was
want it.
supposed to be Shotzi, and then you have somebody from NXT, Alba Fire, who we haven't really seen too much of. But that's a lot of trust.
Yep.
Be like, all right, let's try this one.
A tag team wrestler, you know. It's like you're out there in singles. Like, by the way, I'm gonna bulldog you on the steps.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I guess you got to make the most of your minutes if you're Alba Fire too. Like she gets the opportunity to be on SmackDown, so she should try and make it as good as a match as possible.
I thought she looked good. I mean, I've seen her in the tag team match before, but she looked good. Isla Dawn was good at interfering on the outside, and they did that early.
Mm-hmm.
There was no suspense for it. First time the ref's back was turned, and Isla Dawn with a smack to Naomi, like right there, right away. So I like that. Even though she was in a singles match, it mattered that she's a tag team member. Alba Fire takes all these big high impact maneuvers well. She's kicking out at 2 very well. She's a worthy opponent. I mean, Naomi has to win. It's her first match on SmackDown since she's.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Logan Paul had to win. Naomi had to win. So I'm not gonna quibble over that. Tiffany Stratton almost had to win because they've been pushing her backstage as, already having heat with the other Elimination Chamber members.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there were some people tonight who had to win, but they didn't give us crappy matches because everybody sort of predicted who was going to win. Like, we know who's going over, so they're just going to mail it in. It's like, I don't think anybody mailed it in tonight, even though we thought, okay, yeah, we know what's going to happen, really.
Right.
So I appreciate that about the work in the ring. Like the wrestlers got out there and worked.
Mm-hmm.
Predictable or not, they worked. I like that.
Speaking of predictable or not, we had one more match in the opener here.
It was the longest match of the night.
Yeah, and I guess we kind of went down the list, but I'm surprised we missed this one earlier on. But Kevin Owens versus Dirty Dom Mysterio.
Yep.
Kevin Owens goes over. I thought this was a cool opening match.
Mm-hmm.
Dom, what did you think about this victory for Kevin Owens over Dom Mysterio?
They start this match 5 minutes into the show, so not a big opening segment of talking or anything. They did their vignettes, recap the last week, recap the little setting up what was going to happen a little later tonight, eventually with The Rock and Roman Reigns, but then got us into a match, which I thought boded well for the whole show. Considering they had 4 matches that were announced, you start wondering, are these going to be squashes or not? But this gave me a little hope that we were going to get pretty decent wrestling on the show, and we did. Eventually in this match, R-Truth shows up at ringside, and John, like you've said often, you and I don't really watch Raw, which is where a lot of the Judgment Day stuff with R-Truth is happening. But R-Truth comes out. He thinks that Kevin Owens is the Miz for some reason. Starts trying to talk to him like, Miz. And Kevin Owens, of course, is confused. This allows Dominic Mysterio to get the upper hand. So now later in the match, Dominic Mysterio thinks, okay, R-Truth is out here. I can use this to my advantage. He starts trying to manipulate R-Truth into saying, get me a chair. And R-Truth is like, what? Get you a chair? I'm out here for the Miz. It's like, no, you're in Judgment Day. So, but you said I wasn't in Judgment Day. No, you're in Judgment Day. Get me a chair. You're in Judgment Day. Get me a chair. So R-Truth goes and gets a steel chair. Then instead of handing it to Dominic Mysterio, he opens up the chair and just sits down on the ringside floor watching the mat with his arm folded. It's like, no. And that's when things just turned for Dominic Mysterio. He wasted all that time didn't go for a follow-up on Kevin Owens or anything because he had him down, eventually hit the 619 on him for a 2 count. So Dominic Mysterio, he gets his offense in, and he had a legit shot in the kayfabe realm to win this match. But, at this point, he's wasted too much time. KO super kicks him as he turns around, then finally hits the pop-up powerbomb for a pinfall. Fun match. Kevin Owens is going to Elimination Chamber. Dominic Mysterio is probably going to be there anyway, so it wasn't necessary for him to win the match to get there, because Judgment Day is probably going to be there. Rhea Ripley's going to be there. So you imagine that, Mysterio doesn't have to punch his ticket to Perth by winning this match.
Right.
He's probably going to be there anyway. But hey, Kevin Owens is going to Elimination Chamber. What do you think of that? Kevin Owens has been the guy that has enough credibility, enough gravitas to be in these title pictures and title matches, even if he's not winning titles. What do you think of Kevin Owens being in the Elimination Chamber?
They need big stars there for sure, and he's one of them, right?
Okay.
So you look at kind of the matchup and the people that are going to be there. Even
Logan Paul, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens.
Yeah, it's
Drew
a pretty
McIntyre.
good matchup. It's a good elimination chamber, right?
Randy Orton. Let's do spoilers since they already taped this coming SmackDown because they can't possibly do it live. Apparently they did an LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre main event for the taped SmackDown that's supposed to air on February 23rd. And I won't spoil you the match for you, but, it was basically just a preview of Elimination Chamber, and it winds up with a lot of the other Elimination Chamber participants surrounding the ring. And it's like you're saying, it's a big name.
Mhm.
It's a lot of big names. So I think they did wind up getting enough big time main event quality people into the men's main event match there.
Yeah. Well,
and I think the women too. Like, what do you think of the women? There's apparently one spot that's still open for the women, but it's Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Naomi, now Tiffany Stratton, I think is the lineup. And there's one more that'll be determined on Raw, which as we're recording this on President's Day here, February 19th, it'll be later tonight.
yeah.
So I think that's the lineup for the women. The women maybe doesn't seem as star-studded as the men's one because it includes one wrestler who's returning from injury, Liv Morgan, although she's had a title belt and has been a star for them. It includes one wrestler who's just getting a push from a 2-match call-up from NXT in Tiffany Stratton. It includes another wrestler who's been back for exactly one Royal Rumble match and one singles match on SmackDown in Naomi. At this point, it's like Becky Lynch is carrying the star power for the Elimination Chamber match. It'll be interesting to see who gets that final spot. Liv Morgan is probably a big name. Naomi might be also for people who remember her from years ago with Sasha Banks in the tag team. But, I mean, it's the women's lineup does not look as star-studded at first glance as the men's lineup does.
Yeah. And, I think leading it off is like Tiffany Stratton. I'm like, who the hell is Tiffany Stratton? We just saw her twice on SmackDown.
She's good, but she's new.
Yeah, she's new. I just looked her up. She's 24. So, again, she's super young. You can't really trash people that are like they're in their early 20s and getting to this level. But, she's very green.
Mhm.
But, so you're going to have Tiffany Stratton there, and then you're going to have some people you don't really know, but the men's is pretty stacked. I'd say, from my perspective, it's pretty good for a B show. Like, it's a B show, and it's kind of it's kind of falling in that category. So you throw a gimmick of the Elimination Chamber and say, hey, you get the opportunity to go to Australia. There's going to be a huge crowd, and these out-of-country crowds are usually pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
So usually they don't necessarily need the big stars because I mean, we saw this with like Io and Bianca Belair opened the match with Puerto Rico, and they were on fire for Io, who had been kind of a nobody not nobody up to that point, but
Heel.
you know, a heel and a mid carder.
And a tag teamer, and now she's in a singles title match, and the crowd's going crazy.
And they went nuts for her. So hopefully you get some sort of response where you can be like, oh, it's your time to shine. There's no Roman, there's no Cody. Like, it's your show. You guys can go do your thing.
Are the heavy gimmicks good for these second tier pay-per-views, like Money in the Bank with all the ladders involved? Like, that's a good gimmick for a non-Big Four pay-per-view. Although, as you've brought up, because that gimmick works so well, it's almost become one of the major pay-per-views. Elimination Chamber, kind of same thing. I mean, if you're going to have to run something, I mean, I saw Elimination Chamber for the first time last year, and I thought it was a decent gimmick for a match like this. It's got the cage, it's got the foreign objects that are really built into the infrastructure of the match. I thought it was neat enough. I don't want to see it every pay-per-view, but if you're going to build a pay-per-view around a gimmick, I thought Elimination Chamber was decent, especially if it's like you're saying, a pay-per-view that could get lost between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Now it's at least something interesting. You add the wrinkle, like you said, of taking it to outside the US and trying to really get a good crowd for it. I thought last year's Elimination Chamber was a fun pay-per-view. It gave us our best Roman Reigns title defense match that I think we've seen in our year and a half of doing this. So maybe this Perth, Australia pay-per-view, gives us not only interesting Elimination Chambers, but maybe there's something else that comes out. Maybe this Rhea Ripley match is what we're talking about for weeks and maybe even months. Like, who knows?
It's interesting, right, with Rhea Ripley now, and specifically Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax, that Nia Jax was out of the company how long ago, right? And now she's getting a main event, or like kind of seemingly a really big match here in Perth as a singles match. I mean, she's definitely going to go do the job, but like, she has to wrestle a really good match. I mean, if she goes out there and stinks it up, then
she's important for this though, because she has that kayfabe reputation and the size where she can be a heel, because Rhea Ripley has been that tweener for a while. She's in Judgment Day, which is a heel faction, but people like Rhea Ripley. When she's by herself, people cheer for her. So I think they're setting this up where, okay, we're not going to fight it. Rhea Ripley is going to get cheered in Australia.
Yeah.
So let's, for this singles match, set her up as the baby face against someone who's clearly a monster heel. So Nia Jax is the perfect person for this. Like, you don't want to throw a baby face into that role against Rhea Ripley and have them get booed out of the building in a premium live event because it's Rhea Ripley's hometown. So for one pay-per-view, building that, okay, Rhea's going to play babyface and we're not going to fight it, have someone go in as a big monster heel.
Here's the thing with Rhea Ripley. Here's her gimmick, right? If it's just Rhea Ripley, the crowd's going to go crazy for her. She's going to be a babyface. If Dom comes with her on her side, then the boos will come because everyone boos Dom.
He's the barometer, right?
He is the barometer. Yeah.
He's not only instant heat for himself, but this is how you know he's really over. He's instant heat for anyone who's attached to him.
Right.
He can keep Rhea Ripley heel whenever they need it.
All right. Well, I think that's SmackDown and kind of a little bit of a preview of the Perth pay-per-view.
So we're recapping this SmackDown, which is really the go-home SmackDown as far as live events goes. And we got a little preview of Elimination Chamber there. We did the best that we could here. This was good.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome to have a little bit of a preview going into Elimination Chamber.
Is it drive time?
I
know you can't drive to Australia because there's a lot of water in between there.
Unless you live there.
If you live there, drive to Perth.
Yeah. I'll have
especially if you're like almost everybody in Australia and you live on the complete opposite side of the big island.
that's what's so crazy is I didn't
Fly or drive to Perth.
yeah. I know that's what's crazy is it's out there too.
Yeah,
And it throughout the whole show, they're talking about 5 a.m. Eastern start time. I'm like, yeah, no one's watching this in the East Coast.
in the East Coast. Well, we'll have to see what we'll do for this because we definitely want to cover Elimination Chamber this coming weekend. So you and I may have to figure out what we're going to do here.
Yes, this
But
is true.
that is for backstage and afterwards. For now, I believe it's time for the thumb drive.
It's
It is time
drive
for you and
time.
I to distill this SmackDown into a simple binary. It's either thumbs up or thumbs down. There are no star ratings. There are no letter grades. There are no number grades. You're taking this course. Pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We don't do star ratings. We just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down for the show. So are you ready?
I am ready, and I am going to try not to hit my microphone as I do the thumbs thing for the first time with a microphone in front of my face.
You upgraded and now look at you. All
I
right, ready?
upgraded.
3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, this was a good
Oh,
show. This was a good show. The final segment was good. And I like how they made such an effort to have that final talking segment, but not have it be at the expense of the wrestling on the rest of the show. They cut way back on backstage vignettes and other pre-recorded material throughout the show to give us enough wrestling. I don't even care that there was a squash in the middle of it that had no bearing on anything else going on anywhere in the WWE storylines or rivalries or whatever. Good show. Wrestling, storylines that we needed, stuff that can carry weeks forward beyond Perth, even though they're not going to be resolved in Perth. And, I can't complain. I like it.
yeah, completely agreed. I think it led us in, it had some implications throughout the whole show into what we're going to
Mhm.
see in Elimination Chamber. And they were simple enough that you're like, okay, cool. This is very straightforward. Whoever wins this match goes to the Elimination Chamber. They get to go to Australia. It's an accomplishment. And
Mhm.
then you also end it with The Rock doing the heel promo, which I was just a massive fan of because
Mhm.
it was just so like it was a great throwback to what he had done years ago as a heel.
Yeah.
They put him in the right direction, and I think he really like you could see how much better he is than most promo at a heel promo than most modern day wrestlers because he's able
Yes.
to control the what chants. He's able to call people trailer trash, which is such a mean thing to call people. You know, he's calling, he's pointing out fat people and telling them they have herpes on their face, like just awful things that you're like, wow, he's really controlling this fiery audience.
Yep.
So
And he successfully turned heel without having to ally himself with Dominic Mysterio.
there you go, right? He
Yeah.
didn't even need Dirty Dom. But so that's our segment called Thumb Drive. We're giving it 2 thumbs up. So we're gonna feel a little hot right now, even though it's the winter. The sun is blaring on me, as you can see. So
Oh, it's hot over there.
yeah,
And it's cheap over here. This is an old microphone I used when I was in my indie musician days 20 years ago.
this is a like $10 headset that my company sent me. So guess
Yeah,
what?
right. There you
Yeah,
go. Perfect.
talk about
We
cheap.
are living the role here. Cheap heat is a shoot and a work for us.
Right.
So with that being said, I think it's time for cheap heat here.
Dom, it's time for Cheap Heat. Cheap Heat is a segment where we talk about WWE, AEW, all other sorts of trending topics going on in the wrestling world. And we'll make short little clips about these topics. It's usually they'll all be found on our YouTube channel. We make the
Yes.
shorter clips. This is how we're getting all the views. Really, we'll do the live show. It's great when people jump on in the chat and help us out, but those usually don't perform as well. But we'll kind of have these smaller, shorter videos, which have been doing pretty well on YouTube. Slowed down a little bit this week because I had the flu, so I didn't make any. We only really made one yesterday. We'll see how that does, but we'll continue to kind of make them going into this upcoming week. So without further ado, I'm going to pop up the screen here and we can talk about the first.
Taylor Swift? Yes, I went there, John. It's Taylor Swift. We're gonna talk Taylor Swift. And did you know this? That apparently Taylor Swift has a big fan in Mick Foley because of how she treated another pro wrestler. Taylor Swift from the Nashville area. So is Jeff Jarrett. Jeff JARRETT. Jeff Jarrett and Taylor Swift are real life friends. And when Jeff was going through a tough time when his first wife, Jill, passed away from cancer. And by the way, this was a TNA. They had hinted at this in TNA storylines just to know that they would go anywhere with it. And, Jeff Jarrett owned it. So, he was obviously okay with it. But this was going on real life. And Taylor Swift was apparently babysitter for their kids, would take them out and try and comfort them during their time. So Taylor Swift, real life friend to a fellow Nashville resident, Jeff Jarrett. And when Mick Foley heard out about it, he became a Taylor Swift fan. So this is great news. Did you know that Taylor Swift had a pro wrestling connection? I did not.
I didn't either. And that's like a person I didn't think would be too involved at all. But that is insane. And I guess this is before she made it.
2007. She was a big enough star, but she wasn't she wasn't as crazy. She wasn't as over as she was on her most recent tour.
Yeah, she's like
it's
Andre
pro
the
wrestling.
Giant right
She was
now.
booked. Like she was a mid-carder back then.
Right.
she belonged on TV. You could put a belt on her every now and then, but she was still a mid-carder. She wasn't like, over like she is now.
Right.
But big deal here, Jeff Jarrett and Taylor Swift are incredibly linked. He apparently got this from people at TNA back when he was involved in TNA from Jeremy Boris. Taylor took the girls out for a day, meaning Jeff Jarrett's children, with his first wife. How important that time was for them. Taylor Swift in 2007 was already well on her way to being a global superstar, but she wasn't yet where she was now, but she was a star. Random act of kindness. This comes to us from WrestleZone here, transcribing this for us. Random act of kindness, and it seemed like done on a one-time basis. And here's the kicker: came to understand that Taylor, who had become a neighbor of Jeff and the Jarrett family in Henderson, Tennessee, was a regular part of the girls' lives as she grew up. So it gives you some of that real person aspect of Taylor Swift. The kind of stuff that maybe we don't see with all the headlines and all the Travis Kelce stuff and going to the Super Bowl and the football games, but good to know that these are real people and they do some real people stuff. So great to learn this about Taylor Swift just as a person, and that she has a pro wrestling connection. This is a cheap pop. I think overall, cheap heat for us, but a cheap pop overall and a good one.
This is a good pop, and we explained what cheap heat was before the show. This is it, baby. Taylor Swift and pro wrestling, and a real good story.
Yeah, grateful that Jeff has allowed me to share all of this with you. So this is not, like Mick Foley airing clean laundry here without Jeff knowing. Like Jeff is okay with people knowing this about him and his family. I mean, he's even leaned into it in professional wrestling angles from time to time. And this is a good thing for people to know about. He's not saying, he's not really invading Taylor Swift's privacy or Jeff Jarrett's privacy or anybody. It's just a good story. There they are. Mick Foley with a thumbs up. So apparently he gave a thumbs up to this story like we did. If Mick Foley was doing the thumbs up, thumb drive, there it is. And of course, Taylor Swift, the star of this cheap heat here. Let's stay with WrestleZone, but go to active wrestlers. And this is where I'm going to rely big time on you, John. Will Ospreay says goodbye after losing his last New Japan Pro Wrestling match at New Beginning in Osaka, Japan. There he is looking bloodied at the end of it. There was a tweet about this. I'll kill sound there in case anybody's getting sound feeding through. But NJPW World's account there on Twitter, Will Ospreay got a huge ovation saying bye to the fans. This is after his match. They're just waiting at the top of the ramp before they go to the back. And the crowd, as you can see here, they're chanting, hand gestures like they approve
New Japan. Because it doesn't mean that he couldn't not work there, like a Wrestle Kingdom or down the road, and they could kind of share him as a talent. And then, good, to be honest with you, but we'll see.
Very good. So you're looking forward to you're our main AEW guy here. So if you
I'm
like
the
it,
AEW correspondent for Don't Bury the Lead. Yes,
they did.
You're right.
Very good. You are consulting for AEW on this one, perhaps informally, but maybe they're watching us the way climb Mount Everest, because he's a real life daredevil and risk taker, stunts and things that he does. His wrestling gimmick is probably not far off from what he really does. He's on here with Denise Salcedo on YouTube here. What do you think of Darby Allin's real life penchant for risk taking and perhaps wanting to climb Mount Everest here?
Oh, yeah. Well, first things first, let's credit the creator. Denise Salcedo has kind of really made a name for herself the last couple of years. I've noticed her pop up a lot on YouTube. I think she does a lot of the AEW press conferences, and she's got a lot of subscribers, and I like her stuff. So, Denise Salcedo, we're going to give you 2 thumbs up. And we'll, good that you get the opportunities to interview some of these AEW wrestlers. So crediting the creator, Denise, and then go ahead and talk about Darby Allin specifically climbing Mount Everest. Not a surprise. He does like crazy ass shit all the time. He's just always doing the crazy high spots, and you're like, I don't know how long he's gonna last doing this. He's super skinny to be taking all the stuff that he takes, but he's just taking it. He just it's a little like Mick Foley. We saw him earlier, but like Mick Foley style, where you're like, I don't know. He just takes every zany bump that he could take, and he just takes it. So it's not so surprising that he'd be willing to try to climb Mount Everest.
There you go. Well, before he does that, he's got another match set, at least one more. They announced Sting's last match for AEW Revolution Sunday, March 3rd. Darby Allin and Sting versus the AEW Executive Vice Presidents, the EVPs, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, formerly known as the Young Bucks. What do you think of this being Sting's last match? Darby Allin is in there. What say you for this?
Well, I'll tell you what. Sting's had an awesome run in AEW, and it's really surprising to have a super old man. I mean, he's a complete gimmick wrestler now. He just stands up and punches.
Uh-huh.
And like he'll do an occasional crazy spot, like occasional spot that looks pretty wild, but like he could handle himself enough where it's not too ridiculous, but
Mhm.
it is definitely time, he's in his 60s, right?
He's
So,
gonna be 65, I think, by the
oh
time
man,
this
he's in
this
his
happens.
mid 60s. So he
Yeah.
was like 60 and was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it.
He was 60 before he came back to AEW.
Yeah, so he had gas in the tank, which is pretty remarkable. I think that they have a pretty good angle set up with Matt with the Young Bucks here,
Mhm.
and I think the Young Bucks are doing the right thing by just going full on heel because I think they're getting booed a lot, and they're just not as over as baby faces for many reasons. A lot of the CM Punk stuff, it's just like the entire elite, like after the whole CM Punk thing, like they've been getting like smattering of booze here and there because CM Punk is just like, he's one of these guys that like some people just absolutely love and will go to the edge of the earth and
Mhm.
whatever he says is right. So they've pretty much been forced to turn heel. Um,
Should
but
they have
I
done it sooner? If it's working, should they have leaned into more of the stuff sooner?
Yeah, they've been kind of treading water. I think they try to bring him back as faces because they didn't really know what the crowd would react like. And at first, the crowd was reacting positively to them after the big fight because they're like
Okay.
supportive of them. And then CM Punk came back to the company, and then CM Punk was like just like shooting promos on them and just sort of destroying the company within itself until he
Mhm.
got fired. Uh, but that's a whole I think that horse has been beaten to death by every YouTuber imaginable. I think Jim Cornette has made millions of dollars off of CM Punk and all of his backstage handlings and all of his just opinions about it. Like all the views he gets is kudos to you, Jim.
Maybe the problem was that CM Punk was too tweener, like you were saying. There was split reaction among the AEW fans to what happened with the backstage altercations, and maybe that wasn't going to be a clean heel turn. Whereas here, it looks like this is as easy a heel turn as you can possibly imagine. Go attack from behind Sting and Darby Allin, who everybody is cheering for.
Yeah, it is sort of weird. Not yeah, I would say this. It is interesting that they are
Anybody could have been in the position of the Young Bucks here and would have been instant heels had they attacked Sting and Darby Allin, right?
yeah. So it's interesting they have used this tag team, but I guess they just needed to be like, okay, let's solidify them as heels, and then
Yep.
they could be another top team moving forward. And after they not, and then they can have the belts and then carry them for a while. So, I
So
mean,
it's Sting putting guys over on his way out the door.
he hasn't lost a single match in AEW. Is that
But if he's
insane?
if he's getting a long-term storyline over, then win or lose in his final match, like this is how you use him, right?
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I know for years and years and years and years, the retirement thing is you lose the match.
Yep.
That's that. I mean, why? Like why, right? Like if Darby and Sting win it and then he retires and then they have the belts vacated, is that big of a deal? Do Matt and Nick Jackson need the belts? Like,
And this soon, do they need the belts right now on March 3rd?
do they need it? Yeah. Um, I don't know. So at least add some intrigue to me. It's like,
Okay.
can we maybe get rid of this silly tradition where in the retirement match the people lose? I've seen these like retirement match in the indies too, like
Mhm.
the OT. Remember the old OTW? I mean,
Sure.
now we're actually getting to the Italian goodbye. But remember the old OTW?
Oh, we've got so much more inexpensive warmth to go.
The old OTW. There was a retirement match for this indie guy, and of course, like nobody ever goes to indie shows, but his retirement match everybody went to. So there
Yeah.
was like 50, 60 people there. So people were like, kind of packed for an indie show, 50, 60 people. And he loses and lets the other guy go over. And then the crowd's all disappointed. It's like, oh, come on. Like, our people aren't going to go back the next week because this guy's retiring. Like they're all this family and friends, but nonetheless, we'll have to see what happens there. But I think
Lots of people are talking about this, though. Glenn Jacobs, Kane. He was on a radio show here, a Neighbor's Choice radio and podcast here. We're getting from their Twitter channel. He was being interviewed about this because he also talked about some of his wrestling. Will he return to the ring? He said probably not in a wrestling capacity, because he really put over how great the modern athletes are. And at his age, no. But he's willing to maybe be just a character. Maybe down the road, come back as that for nostalgia. And of course, just to tell you, a Neighbor's Choice here with David Gernowski, the host, he knows a thing or two about wrestling. He asked Kane about Sting retiring. And of course, Kane had something to say about it. They actually wrestled one time. And of course, Kane is younger than Sting. But, had something to say about Sting. So Sting's retirement match here on AEW, if they wanted to create buzz, they're doing it. Apparently, they're selling tons of tickets for it. And they're getting all sorts of free publicity everywhere, even on podcasts and radio shows that you wouldn't associate with pro wrestling. I mean, obviously, Glenn Jacobs, the former Kane, former Isaac Yankem DDS as well. Don't want to overlook his early glory in the WWF days there as the evil dentist. But, this is great that this is one of those things you're looking for as a wrestling company, right? As you want to get talked about in as wide a landscape as possible in the media. So good for AEW, good for David Gernowski at A Neighbor's Choice for knowing a thing or two about pro wrestling and throwing this into an interview with Glenn Jacobs.
You're going to get people that are, it's a great point. You're going to get people that don't watch AEW normally, and then suddenly they'll be like, well, Sting's last match, I'll go see Sting, or I'll go watch Sting, so maybe I'll get the pay-per-view. So
it can't hurt.
Mm-hmm. And I think they have a good main event as it was on there too with the triple threat. So I think that alone is probably worth the purchase of the pay-per-view.
It's going to be a good show, you think, as an AEW fan.
Well, you said, are you interested in watching it? Did you mention that before? I
might get this AEW pay-per-view.
And you usually are like, no, you probably wouldn't.
Especially since the one time we did it where we were going to recap it, it turned out to be what you admitted was maybe the worst AEW pay-per-view you'd ever seen.
You saw the worst pay-per-view. Oh, my God. What was it? Oh, God.
Adam Cole and Chris Jericho in a match that did not belong even on free TV.
No, and speaking of that indie show, the OTW show, I don't think the Adam Cole Chris Jericho match belonged on that indie show either. It was one of the worst matches of the year, and I was like, oh. And then they had the big brawl where like everyone's just like bleeding all over the place. There's all
over the arena, yes.
And I was like, I'm sorry, this show sucks.
I may dip my toe in for a second try for Sting's last match. And if I do, I'll say that Glenn Jacobs talked me into it after his appearance on A Neighbor's Choice here with David Gernowski. Let's get back to WWE and talk about Drew McIntyre seems to have signed a new WWE contract. The rumor was that his contract ends shortly after WrestleMania, but the kind of push this guy's getting, it sure seems like he's signed. This comes to us from comingsoon.net. They are doing the reports indicate, highlighting a source over at PW Insider, apparently. He's apparently been announced for a live event in Italy in May, because WWE is doing European stuff. They've got a pay-per-view set for France. They've got the Bash in Berlin, which I'm just going to say it. How did people in creative miss the opportunity to call that pay-per-view the Berlin Brawl?
Yeah, because you have the alliteration, which they have to have, and it rhymes with the wall.
The Berlin Brawl. And they could build to the Berlin Brawl for weeks beforehand.
Blew it.
How did they miss this? WWE, you got to start watching Don't Bury the Lead more often. Here's where the good ideas are. The Berlin Brawl. Anyway, Drew McIntyre may or may not be there. He seems to have signed, and indications are he's getting a big push going into WrestleMania season. As we are in WrestleMania season, maybe heading into WrestleMania. Would you be glad if Drew McIntyre had re-signed with WWE and is here for a longer term at least?
I think he's done pretty well.
I've heard people say he's doing the best work of his career right now.
Recently, and especially, just kind of leaning a little bit more into the heel thing, and especially the CM Punk stuff was really good, where he said he ended his career.
And they're selling T-shirts with Drew McIntyre at the grave with the tombstone.
And he seems to, at least have pivoted to a good heel persona. And that's kudos to CM Punk getting that out of him as well. But I do have to say, it would be cool if he resigns, and I think it's a good spot for him because he's already kind of over as it is right now. But, I've seen a lot of these dirt sheet rumors just be so wrong so frequently lately that I'm like, when I see allegedly or sources, I'm like,
we don't want to get our hopes up.
Dave, he's always coming. It's usually poor Dave Meltzer always is touting is getting lied to by some intern, and it's always the opposite. So we'll have to see.
This is apparently Wrestle Talk also tweeted this out. We can bring that up there. He's being there. He is for Bologna, Italy, Wednesday, May 1st. Cody, Bianca Belair, Randy Orton, Io Sky, Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and there's Drew McIntyre sort of near up to the front there. So if he's on the poster, he's got to be on the roster, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would probably think that. And then, ultimately, end of the day here, it's going to be, I'm so burned by reading some of the rumors online and just been so wrong that I'm like, let's just wait until we see what happens. I guess really the last couple months, right? With the CM Punk thing, from basically everything from CM Punk on, and even with The Rock returning and actually having a spot, I was like, yeah, right, that's not happening. And then it did. And no way CM Punk will be back in the WWE. Then he is. Oh, no way Vince McMahon would get fired by the WWE. And then he was forced to resign.
Yes.
AKA forced to leave the company. So everything's so crazy. I don't know what rumors to believe anymore, Dom. I don't know.
It's all cheap heat at this point. We have no idea what's going on.
Right.
Hey, we do know what's going on in this cheap heat. Charlotte Flair, this comes to us from WrestleZone, said she's ahead of schedule with her recovery. Charlotte had a nasty knee injury that we saw on a SmackDown match. She apparently suffered a torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus. If it is in or around the knee, she broke it. But apparently she's doing really well in her recovery. Of course, we like hearing this. We like hearing when people are recovering from injuries. Does the WWE need Charlotte Flair at the top of either the SmackDown or Raw brand, or can they still be fine with her on the shelf? Because it looks like they're finding enough things to do without her. Obviously, if she's around, she's a big star, but they've been doing all right with her sidelined, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't think it's been a big drop-off. And we've been seeing a lot of great women's wrestling on SmackDown because we only watch SmackDown. But it's good to hear that she's getting healthier and maybe just make sure she's good to go and not rush her back too quickly. And but she seems to be like a pretty good athlete. So I'm sure she's working hard at it, right? To
Mhm.
kind of get to where she needs to be. And any little bit of time that she can take off, it's only going to add value to her when she comes back. Like it happened with Randy Orton. It was like he came back and he was red hot, and it was like, wow, like this guy wasn't stale at all as a result of taking some
Yep.
time off. So
Charlotte Flair apparently said this when she was on CNBC. So again, stepping outside of just the pro wrestling things, there she is and talking it up. So this is great news again. If the recovery can continue and she can be back and wrestle again, and of course just for her own health, getting your knee back together so that you could just do normal stuff like walk.
mm,
That's always good news. Are you ready for some? Let's see here. Do we want to go football yet? Yes. Are you ready for some football? Do we want to cover Super Bowl and pro wrestling? What happened after the Super Bowl?
let's do it.
Lightning round here. Mercedes Moné, Bailey, Naomi, and Britt Baker hanging at the Super Bowl. These are people from what at the time had been a month prior would have been like 4 different pro wrestling promotions. It would have been WWE, Bailey, Britt Baker, AEW, Naomi in Impact TNA, and Mercedes Moné in Japan. Now they're down to 2, WWE, WWE, AEW, AEW, it looks like. But hey, the wrestlers were out hamming it up. They seem to be friends. As you've brought up before, Bailey has never met a camera that she did not like.
Right.
So they're hanging out at the Super Bowl. Rey Mysterio is at the Super Bowl wearing a mask. He wasn't the only person at the Super Bowl wearing a wrestling mask. Brother of champion Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, was at Super Bowl after parties in a Lucha Libre mask. There he is dancing. I'm just going to say it. The best part of the Chiefs Super Bowl run was Jason Kelce going all in on the fan bandwagon. Jason Kelce, football fan. He's an all-pro and almost borderline arguable Hall of Famer himself, center for the Philadelphia Eagles. But him just going fanboying for the Chiefs and his brother during the Super Bowl run has been the best part of the Chiefs Super Bowl run.
He's
living his best life in a Lucha Libre mask at a Vegas after party.
He is doing all the right things, right?
Yes.
Like he's killing it. And at the end of the day, wearing a Lucha Libre mask, like, is just great. It's only enhanced Rey Mysterio. He took the mask off in WCW. And then there were, let's not remember those days, right? Like, let's keep that mask on. And yeah, so some people just look better in masks.
So his brother Travis said he might be the Big Yeti if he ever got a pro wrestling name. Jason Kelce in the mask here. I'm getting Sami Zayn, El Generico vibes. Maybe since Jason Kelce is an all-pro and perhaps Hall of Fame center, he is El Centrino.
He could be.
I don't know what that means, but it sounded Lucha Libre-ish.
Well, I know you've been taking Spanish classes, so I'm going to trust you on that one.
El means the. I don't know the rest of it.
Okay.
It was the something. Usher did, was he the guy who did the halftime show at the Super Bowl? I purposely do not watch Super Bowl halftime shows.
Yeah.
Was that Usher?
Usher did the halftime show.
Yes, apparently he did something that had "yeah" in it, and so the people at the this show down here trying to pump up Elimination Chamber had LA Knight on, who is a darling of the Australian press at this point. LA Knight is on board with a collaboration with the Usher at WrestleMania, doing something around "yeah." This was shared to us by the Yeah Revolution, which is a crazy fan account on Twitter, and I mean crazy as in they are crazy over like LA Knight is over. Would you like Usher and LA Knight to do something at WrestleMania? Total rumor. This is dirt sheet stuff at this point, but it's cheap heat. We had to put LA Knight on here. He wasn't on the SmackDown show. We had to have LA Knight in cheap heat.
Would I
Somewhere
like
in the program.
Usher to do something with LA Knight? Well,
Is Usher a baby face?
ooh, is he a baby face, or is he got some go away heat after the Super Bowl? I don't know.
He's got to be a baby face. We can't have him killing LA Knight's push.
Yeah, I don't know. The Super Bowl halftime's always like taken in so many different ways. Like half the people, I think it's like 50% of the people don't care at all, and then like 25% are like, oh, it's pretty good. Then 25% hate it. And then like, so of that little percent, the Super Bowl halftime show is not always a home run or a slam dunk. So as a result, I don't know, you might want to stay away from Usher.
In past years, I did not do it this year because I already had pizza made. But in past years, I have enjoyed the Super Bowl halftime show because it's so abominably long that as the first half ends, I can, put on my shoes and a jacket, leave the house, walk to the Mexican restaurant about a football field away from me, enjoy dinner, walk home, and the second half is starting.
Yeah, it gives you that big of a break.
Yeah, I can do that. So this might be fun. Who knows? Let's what else do we have here? Hey, some real football news. Former member of the Four Horsemen, Steve McMichael. He is ill with I'm not sure what his illness is. It's a terminal illness. We'll get to it I think in a second. If anybody has information on that, share with us in the chat, but he was elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Long-time great player for the Bears along that 46 defensive line. Richard Dent and Dan Hampton, who also played on that defensive line, are already in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Steve McMichael, a lot of people said this was a long time coming. Other people wondering if this is just him riding the coattails of being on one great team with other people who are already there. But to be fair, Steve McMichael was a 3-time All-Pro. He played in 191 consecutive games for the Bears, which is a franchise record for them and something really impressive for a defensive lineman who's in the trenches there. This guy was a football player's football player who played where all the hard hits take place. Most of the hard hits take place. Wonderful news for former member of the WCW Four Horsemen and perhaps WWE Hall of Famer. Did the Horsemen go in with all of their former members or just a few of them? Do you know?
I don't know.
He may be a WWE Hall of Famer, perhaps by association, but he is definitely in the class of 2024 defensive tackle Steve McMichael. So wonderful news for him. He was alive to hear the news. He is battling with some sort of debilitating terminal illness, but he seems to be in good spirits, and good for him to get his due in his first career, pro football. That's all I got. I wanted to end on that kind of somber but positive note about Steve McMichael in the Hall of Fame. Do you have anything else you wanted to share, John? Are there any people who chimed in during the chat here who wanted us to talk about anything? If you're watching us on live stream anywhere, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, find us on YouTube. That's where all the good stuff is, not only the live streams, but that's where we're able to provide an archive of our content, which is the shorts, which are the under 60-second clips, and the great edited clips that John puts together that he talked about earlier. That's where our mother lode of content is, including archives of all our full Don't Bury the Lead shows. So subscribe there at YouTube. Help us hit our next big benchmark. We're safely over 400 subscriber, climbing toward 500. We are climbing the ladder, hoping to reach the Money in the Bank briefcase that is there at the top of the ladder. So to throw a pro wrestling metaphor in there. And of course, if you're watching this on recording, tell us in the comments, what did you think of what really is the Go Home SmackDown show 8 days before the premium live event? What did you think of anything we did in Cheap Heat today? What do you think about the WWE's product overall now that they are full swing into the road to WrestleMania?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple people on YouTube and then
Excellent.
a few others watching on Twitch. So if you have anything you want to mention, guys, pop it in the chat. And then if not, don't worry about it. Hang in there. And I know and I hope you guys are having a great afternoon, President's Day. We're usually Friday night on SmackDown is when we'll go live after SmackDown, but I had the flu, so we pushed it to President's Day at 11 a.m. Eastern.
We're like a car dealership. It's the President's Day sale. Here at Don't Bury the Lead. We got SmackDown recaps. We got the lead, the follow. We got the thumb drive. We got tons of Cheap Heat. And pretty soon we've got an Italian goodbye for you. It's the President's Day blowout here at Don't Bury the Lead. Like us, subscribe, get a good deal today at Don't Bury the Lead.
Yes, that's right. We are like this is like the President's Day nonsense TV commercials you'll see. We're doing it. Let me tell you something too. Thanks for hopping on today, Dom, at 11 a.m. on a Monday. Appreciate it. Fighting the flu. As we're talking about the Italian goodbye.
Tell us in the comments, do you like that we each are wearing headphones and have an external mic here? Do we look like we're more into this? Is the sound quality better? Because that's kind of what we're experimenting with. Does this provide better audio? If you've been a long time Don't Bury the Lead listener as well, tell us, is this a slight or maybe more than slight improvement? Do you like the look? Do you like the sound? Do we have it together here? You know, we usually dress for the occasion. Are we getting it together in other areas as well here?
So, Dom, I think I'm curious just to hear how this sounds because I use this headset for work and I have no idea what it's ever sounded like on the other side. So I'm curious to hear what it sounds like. I can't imagine it can't be as good as my 10-year-old laptop mic. So maybe it's got to be an improvement. And let me try to do one thing for you here. Oh no, did I just?
This is the push that we're getting from Curve here. They're like, all right, it's the equivalent of putting a belt on you. It's like, all right, we're putting headphones and a mic on you. We're going to see if you can run with this push here.
Dom, your video is super delayed, but your audio is right on time. So maybe try turning your video camera on and then off. Can you do that?
Turn it on and off. This is what IT tells you to do all the time, right?
This is.
Have you tried turning it on and off? Did that fix it?
The audio works great.
Did it fix it now with the video?
No, you still have this like little bit of delay.
I'm still delayed. Well, fortunately, it's the Italian goodbye. We've already done all the important stuff. I have other stuff to do with my Monday. I will be leaving this setup live because I do have another interview to do, a Zoom call of my own on this Monday here. What do you got planned besides recovering from your own wrestling injury there, John, for the rest of your Monday?
I believe the plan is to get a video out because I need to desperately get some more content on YouTube because I took like a week almost to just like I haven't even posted a short, which are really easy to post. So our channel has just been like dormant. So got to keep the ball rolling. We had a video post yesterday about Travis Kelce. Mm-hmm. And then going in the next couple days here, We're gonna have some more cheap heat come out. Oh, we got to talk about
Right.
what are we gonna do for? Okay, what are we gonna do for Elimination
Elimination
Chamber?
Chamber. Do you want to try a Sunday?
Yeah, that does sound pretty good because Saturday, uh, my house is gonna be occupied on Saturday,
Okay.
so Sunday is actually pretty good. Are you around? I guess we could just talk about it. You want to talk about it on stream?
We'll do it right now.
We'll do
So
it.
that so that it doesn't have to be reported on Twitter as sources say.
Sources say, right?
No, you'll hear it right from Don't Bury the Lead. Maybe we will be on location in the same, wherever physical space, not exact physical space because that's impossible. But in the same room for our Don't Bury the Lead recap of Elimination Chamber this coming weekend on Sunday. That'll be the day after Elimination Chamber, which would be for us February 25th. Yeah, I'm up for it. Maybe we can get together.
Yeah. What time are you available on Sunday?
Afternoons. I have stuff to do in the mornings. I get home usually noonish.
Okay. Do you think it would make sense that we watch the show in advance and then do the show together? Or should we
Okay.
watch the show together, then right into the Don't Bury the Lead?
Oh my goodness. Watch the show together right into Don't Bury the Lead. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could live stream while we are watching the show.
I was thinking about that.
And we
I've
could do
never
like
done something
Beavis
like
and Butthead commentary during the show.
I've seen the live streams, and I believe that's a great, accurate portrayal of what people do. They just sit there in silence, and then some people will chat things, and they'll be like, "Whoa, that's crazy! Oh man, oh man!" So that's a reaction. We could just react. Whoa, well, Rhea Ripley won.
We could do that, and then in the 5 minutes as they're doing their changeover between matches or whatever, we could maybe give our recap of the match, and be like everything's the main event, and we could do like instant takes.
So would we then cut
and then
out?
we'll just do a little cheap heat at the end.
And then at the end we'll do cheap heat.
Yeah.
We can talk about the show while it's happening, and then do the cheap heat. That might be the right idea.
There will be pizza and beer involved in this.
This is true.
I will go up to the craft brewery here in Clayton, and I will get a good 4-pack of pint-sized cans for stouts.
Yes.
Do you have something? Are you a stout guy? Do you like stouts? Stouts and porters?
Stouts
I'm a
are
stout
pretty
and porter
good.
guy.
Stouts can be good. If there is, you're going to the Clayton Brewery.
I'm going there. I'm going to Core 3 that we've.
They do have
before.
good beer there. I'm just saying. So in our particular situation in New Jersey, sometimes the breweries are not good. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not like all breweries are created equal. There's a lot of them, right? There's a lot of competition. But Core 3 Brewery, for sure, very good beer in Clayton, New Jersey.
We will do that then. I will pick up the beer, and we will find a way to get together for February 25th to watch Elimination Chamber and avoid spoilers, and maybe live stream our reactions to the matches, do a little cheap heat. You need to rest up and kick this flu, and so do I, because you need to be at full strength for a WWE Premium Live event with copious amounts of pizza and craft beer.
This is true. We're going to be pounding pizza and craft beer.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining. Really appreciate it. We had a bunch of people staying on from YouTube, so thanks for that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Dom, thanks for hanging on.
Subscribe today. Don't Bury the Lead is the best.
Hit the like. Subscribe is actually really helpful. We're on the route to 500. And I know, Dom, you have another call coming up. So
half an hour. I got a little quick changeover here.
So thank you so much for joining, everyone, and have a great rest of your afternoon.